And now, on a pale horse. Chapter 8. Green Mother. A light was flashing on the dash. That meant Mortis had something to tell Death. "Brace yourself," Zane told Luna. "We're about to be on the death horse." "I love horses," she said. "I'm a girl at heart." He pressed the button, and they were on the stallion, Luna sitting behind him. "What is it?" Zane asked. "My countdown is turned off. I'm pretty well caught up on my backlist, and I don't begrudge my upcoming clients a few more hours of life." The horse neighed urgently and swished his tail. "Idiot, turn on your translator," Luna murmured. Zane hastily set the language gem in his left ear. It was uncomfortable to wear continuously, as he had never gotten his ear pierced so he could use it as an earring, and he normally removed it during off hours. He hadn't realized it could be used to talk to Mortis. "Nature summons you," the Ney voice said. "I can wait till I get home," Zane muttered, conscious of Luna's presence. "The incarnation, Nature," the horse clarified. "Gia. She says to dally only long enough to pick up one soul." "Nature the person? If she wants to talk to me, why doesn't she come herself, as the other incarnations have?" "She is the Green Mother," Mortis neighed, and there was an undertone of equine respect. "She governs all living creatures. Do not annoy her, Death." "You had better go," Luna said. "I don't know which of you incarnations has the most power, but nature surely is not to be trifled with. You can drop me off anywhere near Kilvaro, and—" "Do not go near Kilvaro," Mortis warned. "Operate from the ghost world." "But I can't leave Luna among the ghosts," Zane protested. "Bring her." "I'd like that," Luna said. "Is it permitted?" "I'll do it regardless," Zane decided. "I'm not going to leave you in any strange place unprotected." He turned on the Death Watch countdown. It showed 9 minutes. He oriented on the client, using the special gems of his bracelet. He nudged Mortis, aiming the stallion in the right direction. "Take us there," he directed. The horse leaped away from the carnival. Clouds wafted by, and the cosmos was inchoate. "Ooh, lovely," Luna breathed, hugging Zane from behind. Then Mortis landed in a great dance hall in the city of San Diego. Magic clothed the walls with royal trappings, and made the floor resemble solid silver. It did not at all look like a place of death. "So this is what your job is like," Luna murmured. "You must enjoy it well." "It varies," Zane said. "Parts of it are not fun." They dismounted, and Mortis stepped into the background. No one noticed that he was a horse, for he was protected by the magic of his own office. The watch showed 4 minutes. Zane went to the spot indicated by the gems. It was a section of the dance floor. Dancers crossed it and moved on, doing the squirm. He couldn't tell who was fated to be there when the time came. There were 2 empty seats beside a young woman who was not dancing. Zane and Luna took them. 2 young men walked along the edge of the dance floor, engaged in animated conversation or moderate debate. They halted abruptly near Zane. "Well, then, let's try it," one exclaimed. "Random selection, yours against mine." "Done," the other agreed. "Winner takes them both, a disinterested judge." The first turned to a seated youth who was drinking a beverage from a bottle. "Do you know how to play guitar?" The youth laughed. He set down his bottle and stifled a burp. "Me? I'm tone deaf. I can't even play a triangle." "He'll do," the second man said. He turned to Luna. "Do you dance well, miss?" "Excellently," Luna said. "No good." The man focused on the other girl. "Do you dance well?" "No," the girl said shyly. "I've got 2 left feet. I only come to watch the others dance." "She'll do," the first man said. "Do for what?" Luna asked, annoyed about being passed over for whatever it was. "And you can be the judge," the second man said to her. Zane looked at his watch. The countdown timer showed 2 minutes. Who was going to die here, and how? The first young man produced a nondescript guitar and pushed it into the hands of the tone-deaf lad. "When I give the signal, play." "But I told you I can't—" "Precisely. It's an excellent test." The second man brought out a pair of dancing slippers. "Put these on and dance," he said to the left-footed girl. Suddenly Zane had an awful notion. "Luna," he cried, "get out of here. It may be your death we're here for." The watch showed 90 seconds. "Don't be silly," she said. "You brought me here. That wouldn't have been necessary if I were the client. You could simply have pushed me off the horse in mid-air. Anyway, I'm not in balance. I can make it to hell without your assistance. I'm not on your calendar." Zane had to admit that was true. The death belonged to someone else, but to whom? "Begin," the first man ordered. The youth put his fingers to the strings with a what-can-I-lose smirk and played an excellent chord. "See? Pure junk," he said. "Not so," Luna told him. "That sounded nice." Astonished, he played again, watching his hands, and a fine melody commenced. His left fingers flew along the frets, while his right hand strummed out an authoritative tune. The hands seemed to possess lives of their own. The left-footed girl stood up, wearing the slippers. "You'll see," she said, "I'm no good at all." Her right leg did look slightly deformed, perhaps by some childhood injury. It was unlikely she could move it well. She began to dance, and her feet flashed like those of a ballerina. Her mouth dropped open. "The slippers!" she cried. "Magic!" Both young men turned to Luna. "Now you watch and listen, beautiful," the first one said. "Tell us which is better, the music or the dancing." Luna smiled. "I shall. I'm in the arts myself. I can give an informed opinion, though these are two different forms of expression." The youth played the magic guitar, and the girl danced in the magic slippers so well that soon the other dancers paused to listen and watch. Others started to dance to the new music, but none danced as well as the left-footed girl, who fairly flew about the floor, kicking her legs with pretty flourishes and throwing herself into dazzling spins. She hadn't been a really attractive girl when seated, but now her cleverness of foot lent her a special allure. Physical beauty, Zane realized as he watched, was not entirely in the body. It was in the way the body was moved. The girl's face became flushed. She panted. "Enough!" she cried breathlessly. "I'm not used to this." But the newly formed audience was clapping, urging her on, and the guitar was sounding veritable panoramas of notes, almost visibly filling the dance hall. These were two excellent magic items. Then Zane saw that the youth was no longer smiling. His fingers were raw and starting to bleed, for they were soft, not calloused in the manner of experienced players. But he couldn't stop playing. The magic compelled him. And the girl. The watch touched 0 on the countdown. The girl screamed and collapsed. Now Zane understood. The magic articles did not consider human limitations. They didn't care if a person flayed his fingers playing, or if an out-of-condition girl exercised herself into heart failure. They simply compelled performance. Zane rose and went to the girl, experiencing a certain guilty relief that the client had not, after all, been Luna. Of course, he should have realized what was about to happen, and prevented the left-footed girl from donning the terrible slippers. He could have saved her life, instead of merely watching her die. Regretfully, he took the girl's soul and turned away from the body. The other dancers were standing aghast at the sudden tragedy. Luna, too, was horrified. "I should have realized," she said, her eyes fixed on the now still feet of the girl. "I've seen enough magic to know the peril inherent in second-class enchantment. You came here on business—" "And if you had donned those slippers—" Zane began. "That, too. I'm a magician's daughter. I know the type of— But I just wasn't thinking." Mortis approached, and they mounted. No one else noticed. The contest between guitar and slippers had no victor, only a loser. "On to nature, Death Steed," Zane directed, stopping his timer again. "I guess you know the route." Mortis did. He leaped out of the dance hall and into the sky. "I know death is a necessary part of life," Luna said behind Zane. "I will experience it all too soon myself, but somehow it cuts more sharply when you see it personally, when you actually participate." Yes. How well he knew. "I wish I hadn't agreed to judge that contest. That girl might be alive now." "No, she was slated to die. You played no actual part. More correctly, you played a part that someone else would have. Your action changed nothing." She was so innocent. She was 50% evil. It's not safe to assume that the handicapped are free of sin. They vary exactly the way unhandicapped people do. I don't know what brought her to the point of equilibrium, but... Oh, you know what I mean. She may have done evil in her life, as we all have, but she didn't deserve to die so cruelly. Worked to death in 1 minute by enchanted slippers. Her heart must have burst. Zane didn't answer. He agreed with her. He had increasing objections to the system of judgments and terminations that prevailed. "I wish I knew the meaning of it all," Luna said. "Those 2 men must have known their artifacts were dangerous," Zane muttered. "That's why they tested them on ignorant bystanders. Magic in the hands of amateurs can be deadly." The horse drew up to the abode of nature. It was a broad green forest with a road entering it. A low, sleek, open car was parked at the tunnel-like aperture. Mortis halted. "You're not invited?" Zane asked the horse. "Well, I suppose you can graze here." The meadow before the forest was lush. "Luna and I can drive that car in. I presume that's what it's for." But the car turned out to be a single-seater. No room for Luna. "I think nature wants a private meeting," Luna said. "I'll wait here too." "If she'd given me time to take you home," Zane said, irritated. "Mother Nature has her own ways, as do we all." Zane wasn't satisfied, but had to leave her. "Keep an eye on her, Mortis," he called, and the pale horse neighed agreement. Zane doubted any natural force would threaten Luna while the death steed watched. "Now don't go looking for trouble with that woman," Luna cautioned him. "Remember, you're not dealing with an ordinary person." Did his ire show so clearly? Zane wrapped his cloak about him and climbed into the little car. He glanced back at Luna, standing there in the field, all slender and lovely, her jewels gleaming at head and toe, a dream of a woman. Damn nature, to take him away from her, even briefly. The car controls were standard. He started the motor, put the vehicle in gear, and followed the asphalt road into the forest. The trees closed in overhead, forming a living canopy. It was a pleasant drive. Ahead he spied an intersection. The light was poor because of the shade, so he slowed. It was well he did so, for there was a pedestrian walking by the side of the road, wearing a dark cape that rendered him almost invisible. It would have been all too easy to hit that careless walker. Just as Zane came up to the pedestrian, a cyclist shot out of the intersection and swerved to pass the walking man. This carried the cyclist directly into Zane's path. He tromped on the brake pedal and screeched to a stop just in time. "You idiot!" he swore at the cyclist, who was blithely pedaling ahead, unconcerned by the close call. "You could have caused a fatal collision." He was also not pleased with the pedestrian, who had not paid attention to his surroundings and had taken no evasive action. But he couldn't dally here. He had an appointment with nature that he wanted to get out of the way so he could return to Luna. He drove on. The road abruptly dead-ended at a bog contained by an embankment. Zane parked, got out, and leaned over the rim of the bog to touch its surface. Immediately a spot of mud boiled up, spitting out a gobbet of yellow goop that looked hot and smelled terrible. Zane jerked his hand away, though his death glove would have protected his fingers. The old instincts of life remained with him. How was he to cross this morass? For he could see now the spire of a distant castle directly across the bog. Nature guarded her residence well. It occurred to him that this was some sort of a test or challenge. No ordinary person could get through, but an incarnation could. He had to prove which kind he was. After that he might have something to say to the Green Mother. She had interrupted what had become an important date before it could become more important yet, and now was wasting his time with the riddle of how to approach her. It might not be wise for the ordinary person to trifle with nature, but neither was it healthy to tempt death. But first he had to reach her. She had neatly deprived him of his steed, who could readily have handled this obstruction. How could he cross without miring himself in hot mud? He studied the near shore of the bog. Perched just beside the retaining wall was a small building, perhaps an outhouse. That would figure. Naturally, nature would provide for a call of nature. He wasn't laughing. No, now he saw that it more closely resembled a storage shed. What would be stored therein? He strode over to it and flung open its door, expecting to find tools, or gasoline, or perhaps a telephone. He was disappointed. It was empty, except for a single large red rubber bag hanging on a nail. He lifted this down and discovered that it was filled with fluid, probably water, and it was warm. It was an old-fashioned hot water bottle used to warm the feet or body on cold nights. What was it doing here? He set the thing down, pondering. It simply didn't make sense to store a full, warm, hot water bottle in a shed in the middle of nowhere. It would be cold in half an hour if it wasn't magic. Magic? Zane smiled. He doubted this one had any magic besides its self-heating spell, but it wouldn't hurt to try a simple invocation on it just in case. At least it could warm his feet if the weather turned cold. "Red water bottle, show your power," he told it. The bottle abruptly floated upward, jerking from his hand. Zane grabbed it before it got away. "Levitation!" he exclaimed. "You float!" It certainly did. He had all he could do to hold it down, and the effort took both his hands. "Hey, take it easy," he said. "Don't go anywhere without me." But the bottle continued to tug upward as if still warming to its task. He tried to drag it back to its shed, but couldn't budge it. His arms were getting tired. Soon it would escape and sail up above the level of the treetops. "I'll tame you, you perverse inanimate thing," he grunted. He threw a leg over it so he could free a hand. In a moment he had it wedged between his thighs, captive, but such was its power, it lifted him right off the ground. He had to hang on to its thick neck with both hands. The thing was also getting hotter now, and was pulsing internally as if its effort were making it react. The bottle drifted toward the bog, carrying him along. "Whoa!" he cried. The bottle stopped in place. It was like a saddle, and it answered to horse commands. "Now I think I understand," Zane said. "Bottle, carry me across the bog to the citadel of nature." The red bottle accelerated. Zane hung on, his legs dangling. The thing was comfortable enough, for the water inside it allowed it to shape to his body, but by the same token it offered no firm support. He clung as it zoomed, and he eyed the bubbling bog so close below. Yet he was making decent progress and would soon be across. Suddenly, Zane found himself overtaking a boy. The youth was flapping his arms violently as if to fly, and indeed his feet dangled like Zane's just above the hungry bog. It was the hard way to do it, for man really was not structured to fly alone, and Zane resolved to stay out of the way of those flailing extremities. He leaned back, causing his bottle to tilt, and it followed its mouth upward. Once he passed over the bare-armed flyer, he could drop back to... Zoom! An airplane cruised low overhead, almost blowing Zane off his precarious perch. He struggled to hang on to the bottle, lest he be dropped on the flying youth just below and dunk them both in the boiling muck. What sort of imbecile would fly his airplane so low over other travelers? Or was it simply cruel mischief? The arrogance of power. Zane finally re-established himself and flew on across the bog. The flapping flyer seemed not to have noticed the near collision he had participated in, but went his own way without even a salutation. Zane didn't think much of him either. This region seemed to be full of tunnel-visioned nuts. Now he came to the other side of the bog. The hot water bottle cooled, dropped down, and deposited him on the bank, refusing to respond to further directions. Either its magic was exhausted, or it was programmed to go no farther. Zane got off it, and the bottle went completely limp. Well, he was past the morass and could walk now. He saw there was a path through the forest. He carried the bottle to the shed he spied and hung it up on its hook. This was a simple vehicle to park. He set off down the path toward the citadel. The trees closed in more tightly than before, and the route was curvaceous. Zane rather enjoyed this portion of the trip. The woods were, as the poet Frost had put it, lovely, dark, and deep. A person seldom got to appreciate just how lovely a forest was, for people spent most of their lives rushing to accomplish what they supposed were more important tasks than appreciating nature. Then the path debauched at a clear, small lake. Zane didn't care to get his robe wet, so he tried to go around the water, but soon discovered that the land on either side devolved rapidly into more marsh. He had to go across the lake, which meant he had to swim. Swim? Zane snapped his fingers, outraged at his own foolishness. He could walk on water. He had done so when rescuing the drowning man from the ocean. His death shoes gave him that power. He had been wasting time trying to detour unnecessarily. He strode out onto the water, and his feet sank through it into the slush beneath. Zane windmilled his arms, catching his balance, then hastily backed out. What was the matter? In a moment he figured it out. This was not ordinary water. This was one of nature's defenses. Nature was another incarnation. Her power matched his. The minor magic of clothing would not be effective against her spells. So here his shoes were not magic, or at least were not potent enough to prevail against her counterspell. He would, after all, have to swim. He considered removing his clothing, but realized that it would be difficult to carry cloak, gloves, and shoes. The stuff would probably get soaked anyway. So he would try swimming in his outfit, and if it hampered him too much, he would remove it. Without further ado, he waded in. He discovered to his surprise and gratification that his uniform protected him from direct immersion. He was in the water, but it didn't penetrate to his skin. There seemed to be a spell to keep the water out, though it pressed the material of the robe closely about his limbs. He tried to swim and found himself buoyed so that it was easy to float. He moved through the water with satisfactory dispatch. This was fun, too, in its fashion. It was, however, also hard work. Zane had not swum any distance in years, and soon his muscles were tiring from the unaccustomed exertion. He slowed, unworried. He really did not need to race. He would get there. A canoe came suddenly alongside him, crowding close. Zane missed his stroke and took a gulp of water. Then he righted himself, shook his head, and saw that a magic motorboat was rushing silently by, shoving up a wave that pushed the canoe into the swimmer. In a moment the motorboat was gone, its pilot oblivious to the damage done by his arrogance. The canoeist paddled on his own course, similarly indifferent. Zane was left spluttering in the water. What was the matter with these people? He swam onto the shore and drew himself out. His uniform emerged dry. Even his feet were comfortable. The footpath resumed ahead of him. He followed it and soon was at nature's citadel. Actually, it now seemed more like a temple, strange as it was. A dense growth of trees and vines formed an almost solid enclosure with interwoven arches and embrasures of living wood that rose to a leafy crown. From the twining vines, flowers sprouted, sending their perfumes out wantonly. Zane marched up to the door aperture. There was no bell or knocker, so He proceeded on in unannounced. It was like a cathedral inside, with lush plant growth everywhere. Living arches of wood supported deep green carpets of ferns. Water trickled down from mossy springs. Everywhere was life, green and pleasant. He came to a sunny central court, where wafts of mist curtained a throne fashioned of deep green jadeite. This was Nature's throne room. "Welcome, Thanatos." Her wind and bird song voice came. "Do you wonder at the challenge?" "Yes," Zane agreed shortly. He wasn't sure he liked her using the Greek name for death. "If you wanted to see me, you might at least have facilitated my approach." "Oh, but I did facilitate it, Thanatos," she protested, coming to meet him. A patch of mist moved with her. It was, in fact, her clothing, artfully thinning and thickening at key points. Zane found the effect intriguing, though he was sure nature was no young creature. Mist might be mostly opaque, but it couldn't be solid. "In what manner?" "I set up a pathway that only one of us could negotiate," she explained. "Normally there is no path at all, and no outside creature penetrates. This path would bar either a fully mortal creature or a fully immortal one, such as a minion of eternity. Therefore our privacy is assured." "That's what I thought at first, but there were other people all around," Zane said. "Morons on land, water, and in the air. 3 times I was almost in a collision." "Were you really?" she asked, unsurprised. "Don't pretend you don't know, Green Mother." Nature smiled as if complimented. Her face was pretty enough, framed by somewhat wild and flowing hair, as green as grass and blue as water, the colors shifting in a kind of pseudo-iridescence. Her eyes, when she met his gaze, were like chill, deep pools with highlights of fire. He had seen black opals like that. This woman, he realized, had awesome power. Indeed, she was not to be trifled with. "I know that only you traveled that route, Thanatos." "What of the others, then? Did I imagine them?" She made a smiling sigh, her misted and ample bosom contracting like a dissipating cloud. "I see you do not yet comprehend my little ways. Those others were you." "I doubt it. I wanted no part of such interference." "Be seated, Thanatos," she said, patting a curlicue of rattan with a hand that sparkled of nacreous shell. All things animate were hers, Zane realized, including pearls, the product of living creatures. "I shall clarify this particular detail so that we may proceed to our proper business." Zane sat, for the Green Mother's command was not to be denied. The rattan seemed to shape itself to his body in an almost embarrassing familiarity, making him quite uncomfortable. "Do that." "A person is often his own enemy if he but knows it. It is the nature of the beast. Well I know." Naturally, nature knew the nature of man. That was her business. But how did this relate to his obstacle course entry path? "Once you drove a vehicle," she said. "Once you rode a device. Once you moved alone. You were 1 and you were 3. Only the scenery changed to facilitate objectivity." "I was in 3 encounters," Zane agreed. This female gave a disturbing impression of comprehension, but he didn't see what she was getting at. "You were 3. 1 encounter, 3 views. You saw yourself from 3 vantages, 3 chances to react to yourself." "I was 3?" Zane asked, perplexed. "There was no one but you on that route. But time was in a manner flexed." She smiled obscurely, her teeth gleaming momentarily like fangs. "Nature read in tooth and claw." Kronos owed me a favor. I couldn't flex the event myself. We incarnations do assist each other. No one but me? Zane's head seemed to be spinning. One encounter seen 3 ways? You're saying I was the driver, and the cyclist, and the pedestrian? Only when I was the cyclist I saw it as the hot water bottle ride, and when I was the pedestrian I saw it as the swimming? You changed the view so I wouldn't catch on? I got in my own way 3 times? You comprehend rapidly, and well once you get into it, Nature agreed, and her compliment pleased him, despite his underlying anger. I comprehend that you put me on a track through a Mobius strip with a cross-section of a prism, so I had to traverse the loop 3 times. But why? We answered that before. A mortal could not have passed. The equipment is not spelled to work for mortals. An immortal could not have passed either. An angel would not have needed the equipment, and the true path exists only for that equipment. A demon would have fought himself to death at the first encounter, for that is the way of demons. I felt like fighting, Zane admitted. That arrogant idiot in the power boat. He grinned ruefully. Who was me? It seemed so different in the car. I thought I owned the road, and that the others were intruding on my surface. As a walker or swimmer, I wasn't paying attention to anything except getting myself along. As a cyclist or botanist or whatever, I was caught in the middle between the arrogant power driver and the ignorant self-mover. Both seemed wrong. I'm not proud of my performance in retrospect. Nature shrugged, making an interesting ripple in the mist about her. At times she seemed fat, but at other times she seemed voluptuous. The fog never quite betrayed the truth. You will have leisure to ponder the implications. You did get through, as only a true incarnation would, blundering as it may have appeared. We incarnations are not quite living and not quite dead. We are a unique category with unique powers. We occupy our offices, but sometimes we are our offices. Like light, we are both wave and particle. She gestured, dismissing the matter. Now we have privacy. Wait, Zane said, remembering something. How can a demon fight himself to death? He's already dead. It may be true that the dead cannot die, but if you do to a demon's corporate body what would kill a living creature, that demon loses the use of that body and must return directly to hell. So it is much the same in practice. Zane returned to another matter. What's so important about privacy? Do we have secrets to exchange? Indeed we do. We are the mortal immortals. We can't have our secrets known to mortal mortals, lest we lose respect. We can't tell all to the Eternals, lest we lose our power. What secrets? Zane asked. I'm just doing my job. As you perceive it. Is there something I don't know about it? Perhaps. She settled into a live wood chair, her ambience of mist spreading to fog much of it out. I can make a small and not entirely comfortable demonstration. She gestured, and suddenly Zane felt a tremendous concupiscence. He wanted sex, and he wanted it now. He found himself standing in more than one manner, and approaching her. No, he gritted, knowing this was not his own desire, but one imposed from without. Nature only smiled. He reached for her, but forced himself to grasp for her soul, not her body. His gloved hand passed through the mist and her flesh, and his fingers hooked into her soul. He drew on it, stretching part of it out of her body. She stiffened as if in sudden pain. Then Zane's erotic feeling left him as quickly as it had come. Her spell was off. He relaxed his hold on her soul, and withdrew his hand from her flesh. Nature took a deep and somewhat shuddering breath, and the mist about her fluctuated in intensity. She had lost some of her composure. "I have shown you part of my power," she gasped, "and you have shown me part of yours." Again Zane suffered an illumination. "I do have power over the living, to a degree." He remembered how his client in the hospital, the old woman like his mother, had reacted when he had tried the first time to take her soul. It had to be a terrible shock to have the soul pulled from a living body. "You do indeed, Thanatos. No one can balk an incarnation in his specialty, not even another incarnation. There is no profit in opposing each other, ever. Nature governs all of life, but she doesn't govern death. The individual powers each of us has are inviolate. No one—" Here she paused, giving him a straight glance of enigmatic significance, her eyes like the swirlings of a tempest at night. "No one can interfere with any one of us with impunity." Zane was shaken by her revelation. He hadn't realized before how directly and specifically she could affect him, or how he could affect her. His own power had surprised him as much as hers, but he got himself organized and returned to the subject. "So you summoned me here to tell me something and show me something, putting difficulties in my way. What is really on your mind?" She shrugged again, seeming to like the motion. She had recovered her composure. She was, of course, an exceedingly tough creature. "You have met the others?" "I presume you mean the other special figures? Time, fate, war?" "Yes, briefly." "We really are special, Thanatos. We mortal immortals. We differ from one another, but we interact in devious yet essential ways, exerting our vectors." "Vectors?" "Well, you don't suppose any of us are completely free, do you? We don't do what we do frivolously. Just as the vectors of force, elevation, wind, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and landscape interact to determine exactly where a thrown ball will fall, so do the relevant factors determine how a war shall proceed, or how a cold front shall move, or when a given life will end. It may seem like chance or caprice, but that is only because no mortal person and few immortal entities comprehend the nature of the operative forces. We are not free. No one is absolutely free, yet we do have some leeway. And in this we individualize our offices. Each incarnation can counter another to a limited degree, if that other permits. But we prefer not to do that unless there is sufficient reason. Zane was curious. "How can death be countered, even if death permits?" "Fate could arrange for a replacement, cutting off a thread." Now he felt a chill, for he knew this had been done before. "Fate? Why should fate ever want to do that?" "Kronos could halt the approach of an appointment." "Yes, but why? Mars could fashion a social disruption that could change the entire picture." She was avoiding his question. Still, this seemed worth pursuing. "And what of nature? What cute little trick do you have up your fog, aside from the doubtlessly convenient ability to inflict instant lust?" "Show me your soul," she said. "My—" Then he made the connection, and brought out the soul of the left-footed dancing girl. He had stuffed his soul bag automatically in his pocket and forgotten it until this moment. Nature wafted a ball of mist at the soul. Do not misjudge the power of any incarnation, Thanatos. When you leave me, go to the crypt and try this soul. Then you will comprehend. Zane put the soul away. It seemed unchanged. Was she bluffing? What could she really do with a soul? You brought me here only for this? She laughed, causing little puffs of mist to spin off and float free. By no means. I merely make my point with that soul, so you learn proper respect. and pay attention to my implication." "Well, make your implication," Zane exclaimed impatiently. "What do you suppose is the most ancient profession of the human species?" Nature asked. What was this distaff dog up to now? "It's a female profession," he said guardedly. "Not so, Thanatos. Females were not permitted. The oldest profession is that of shaman, or medicine man, or witch doctor." "Witch doctor?" Zane exclaimed incredulously. "What validity did he have before modern magic was mastered?" But as he spoke, he remembered Molly Malone's comment about the old cave painters and their lost powers over the souls of animals. The practice of magic did predate modern advances. The shaman was the original liberal arts supporter. The chief of the tribe was the man of action, while the shaman was the man of intellect. It may not have been easy for him in primitive times, when neither magic nor science worked better than erratically, but he was the one with the true vision of the future. From him descended those who had to fathom why, instead of merely accepting what. Doctors, philosophers, priests, scientists, magicians, artists, musicians, all those who cater in some fashion to nature, Zane agreed. Though privately he wondered whether artists and musicians really belonged in that category. Their professions were more subjective than most. "But your point, there is a way." "A way for what? I don't follow you at all." "Are you an evolutionist or a creationist?" "Both, of course, but what does that have to do with anything?" "There are those who feel there is a conflict." She was changing the subject again in that infuriating way of hers. "I see no conflict. God created the cosmos in a week, and Satan caused it to evolve. Thus we have magic and science together, as is proper. How could it be otherwise?" "But what did you intend to say to me? I do have other business." "We do fear the unknown," Nature said. "Thus man seeks to explain things, to illuminate what remains dark. Yet he remains fascinated by mystery and chance, and ofttimes gambles his very life away." She glanced smokily at him, and Zane was sure that she, along with all the other incarnations, knew how he had gambled with money and then with his own life. Man is the curious creature, and if his curiosity can kill him, it also educates him. Today we have both nuclear physics and specific conjuration of demons. "And both are hazardous to the health of man," Zane snapped. "It's an open question whether a rogue nuclear detonation would do more damage than a ranking demon of hell loosed on Earth. Maybe World War III will settle the question." "I trust we can settle it less vehemently," Nature said. "Much as I would dislike to deny Mars his heyday, assuming mankind is worth saving." "Of course it's worth saving. Is it?" she asked, turning her enigmatic, deep-pool gaze on him. Suddenly Zane had doubts. He shoved them aside. "Let's assume for the sake of discussion that man is worth saving. What's your point?" "An appreciation of several modes of thinking might help." "Help avert war? How?" "By means of formations of thought." "Formations?" Zane was annoyed, but refused to admit the extent of his confusion. If Nature had a point to make, he wanted to grasp it. "Man is not merely a linear thinker," she said, drawing a line of mist in the air. It hovered like a distant contrail. "Though Ceres' effort is certainly straightforward and useful in many circumstances." Zane contemplated the contrail. "Ceres?" he asked blankly. "Imagine the synapses of your brain, like so many matchsticks connecting head to tail. Your thoughts travel along these little paths." She punctuated the line with her finger, breaking it into 5 parts. "This is a series arrangement. It's like driving down a highway start to finish. Oh, yes, I see. Synapses connected in series. I suppose we do think in that fashion, though there are alternate paths. Precisely. Here is a system of alternate paths. She swept her hand across the contrail, erasing it, then used her finger to draw 5 new matchsticks. This is a parallel formation. It is, of course, very fast and strong. It leads to a virtually certain conclusion based on many facts. It is perhaps the most powerful mode. But it doesn't reach as far. True. It is conservative, leading to small, certain steps with few errors, rather than the sudden leaps of understanding possible with the series formation. It does have its liability, but is useful when the occasion requires. Maybe so, but your point, you do at times seem to be that type of thinker, she said, smiling. She pursed her lips and blew out a ring of mist that swirled toward the ceiling. You cling to essentials, but they will not always serve you well. I've been getting in trouble in Purgatory because I haven't clung to essentials, he protested. Then we have the creative formation, she continued blithely, erasing the parallel formation and drawing 5 matchsticks radiating out from a common center. Divergent thoughts, not necessarily limited to the immediate context. Going in all directions, Zane agreed. And the schizoid formation, she said, drawing a pentagon. Going round and round, getting nowhere, internalizing. What use is that? It might help a person come to terms with an ugly necessity, she said. I don't see that. Finally, there is the intuitive formation. She traced another formation. A sudden jump to a conclusion, not the most reliable mode, yet sometimes effective when others are not. 5 formations of thinking, Zane said, nearing exasperation. Very interesting, I'm sure, but what did you have in mind to say to me? I have said it, Nature said calmly. Said what? You have evaded the issue throughout. What issue? Zane had had enough. I don't care to play this game. He stomped out of the citadel. Nature did not oppose him. The exit from the center of the estate was much easier than the entrance had been. He walked down a path and through a thicket, and emerged in the original field without passing lake or bog or deep forest, a matter of only a few hundred feet. Mortis and Luna were waiting for him. What did old Mother Nature have to say to you so urgently? Luna demanded archly. She's not that old. At least I don't think she is. Estimate to within a decade. Are you jealous? He asked, pleased. Luna checked about her, as if verifying that she wore no truthstone. Of course not. How old? I just couldn't tell. She wore fog. Fog? Some sort of mist. It shrouded her whole body, but I had the impression of youth, or at least not age. Nature is ageless. I suppose she is, technically. But so is death. Luna took his arm possessively. And I shall make death mine. But didn't she have some important message or warning for you? If it's not for mortals like me to know, just say so. Zane laughed uncomfortably. Nothing like that. Apparently she just wanted to chat. Or to size up the new office holder. Maybe that. She talked about this and that, evolution and the shaman as the oldest profession, formations of thought, and how the other incarnations could deviously counter me if I permitted it. She looked at the soul I harvested on the way here, and implied she could restore it. Maybe she was baiting you, trying to make you react to take your measure. Some women are like that, and nature is surely the most extreme example. Surely the archetype, he agreed. But it's easy to find out about the soul. Let's call her bluff. I'll take the soul back to its body now. This is an interesting date, Luna remarked as they mounted Mortis. If you insist on dating death, you must expect morbid things. The horse took off, knowing where to go. Luna circled her arms about Zane's torso and clung tightly. The prospect of dying has become less of a specter for me since I've known you. she said into his back, as they flew in overdrive across the world. Maybe that was what my father had in mind. Zane didn't answer. The thought of her early dying was not becoming easier for him to accept. What would there be for him when she was gone? In what way was she deserving of such a fate? He didn't care what the official ledger listed for the burden of sin on her soul. She was a good woman. Mortis lighted beside a funeral home. It was still night, here in San Diego, or wee morning, and the place was quiet. The entrance was locked, but it opened at the touch of the death gloves. No physical barrier could bar death. They went in and found their way to the freezer vaults, where the recent bodies were stored for the required waiting period. Zane used his gems to locate the specific drawer where the dancing girl lay and drew it out. He hadn't realized before he made the effort that the gems would orient on a soulless body if he willed it. They were more versatile than he had known. There she lay, definitely dead, not pretty in the manner of a corpse laid out for display, with its eyes and mouth stapled shut, its guts eviscerated, and its blood replaced by embalming fluid. She was just a cold corpse. Definitely an unusual date, Luna murmured. Zane opened his bag and drew out the girl's soul. He shook it gently, unfolding it, then placed it over the corpse. This is as far as I can go to... The soul sank into the stiff body. In a moment, the naked torso shuddered and the eyes cracked open. Ragged breathing resumed. "She's alive," Luna exclaimed. "We must get her out of the drawer." "Nature wasn't bluffing," Zane said. "She restored this girl." He slid his arms around the girl's chilled torso and lifted her up. She remained stiff, as if the rigor mortis had not yet worn off, yet she was alive and could move somewhat. Luna helped him carry the girl to a warmer chamber. They worked on her hands and feet, chafing warmth and flexibility back into them, but it was not enough. Her breathing became shallower, and the stiffness did not abate. "She must be warmed," Luna said. "Otherwise she will perish again. She was in the freezer too long, and whatever spell nature made seems to be only temporary. I must use magic." "But that will increase your burden of sin," Zane protested. "What difference does it make? I'm already doomed to hell." Luna brought out a gem. Zane let her do it, knowing that what she said was true. The use of black magic could not really damage her case now, yet it was ironic that she should be further damned for this good cause. Sometimes there seemed to be no justice in the hereafter. Luna activated the stone. A soft blue effulgence surrounded it. She brought it near the cold body of the dancer, and immediately the body warmed and softened. Zane's arms, holding the girl upright, were touched by the radiation, and a gentle but potent heat was generated in them. "This is like a microwave oven," he exclaimed. "Similar principle," Luna agreed. "Anything science can do, magic can do, and vice versa. But the mechanisms differ." Now the girl recovered quickly. Her breathing deepened, her body became limber, and her color improved. "What?" she asked. Zane was still supporting her. At the moment she spoke, he was standing behind her, arms around to her front, just beneath her breasts. It took some effort and leverage to keep a half-dead body standing. His position didn't change, but his awareness of it did. This was not the way a man held a living girl, especially not a naked one. Yet if he let her go, and she turned about and looked into the face of death... Luna appreciated the problem at the same time. "We must get you some clothing, dear," she said to the girl. Zane continued to support her while Luna searched the premises. As Luna looked, she talked, reassuring the girl. "You won't be feeling too well at the moment, dear. You see, you overdid the dancing and lost consciousness. They thought you were dead and put you in a vault. That's why you feel so cold." "So cold," the girl agreed, beginning to shiver. Luna found a blanket and brought it over. "Wrap yourself in this. There's one other thing we must explain. You have had a very close call. So close that death was summoned to collect your soul. But it turned out to be, well, He decided not to take you after all, so don't be alarmed. Death is departing, not arriving." "Death?" The girl's wits were not too bright, understandably. Zane released her as Luna helped her drape the blanket. The girl turned and for the first time saw Death's face. She gasped, but accepted it. "Death doesn't take anyone who isn't ready to go," Luna said reassuringly. "He is really your friend, not your enemy. However, you will have to explain to your acquaintances about this. Tell them that you sank so low you saw Death, but he passed you by. It will bring you some deserved notoriety." "Oh, yes," the girl agreed faintly. "Pleased to meet you, Death. I've heard so much about you." But she didn't seem thrilled. In due course they got the girl to her friends, who welcomed her like one returned from the dead. "And stay away from strange slippers," Luna cautioned her in parting. They rode Mortis back to Kilvara, galloping through the sky into the dawn. "Some date," Luna repeated, and kissed Zane farewell. "Shall we call it love hereafter?" "Is it?" he asked, genuinely uncertain. What he felt for Luna was deeper and broader than what he had felt for any woman before, but not intense. She frowned. "No, not yet." She smiled a little sadly. "Perhaps there will be time."